Hollywood celebrates success, but only when it arrives slowly. When an actor climbs the ladder step by step, the industry understands the story. Years of auditions, supporting roles, a breakthrough that feels earned. But when success arrives too quickly, without visible struggle, it unsettles people. It disrupts the unspoken hierarchy that governs casting rooms, agencies, and career trajectories. Jacob Elordi didn't rise quietly. He didn't wait his turn. He arrived, expanded, and occupied space that many others believed was still being negotiated. That kind of momentum doesn't just change one career, it shifts the entire ecosystem around it. This isn't about jealousy in the cartoon sense, it's about collision, when one actor's acceleration compresses the timelines of others who thought they had more time. And nowhere is that collision more visible than in the careers of 5 actors whose paths intersected with Elordi's rise at critical moments. 1. Austin Butler. When hard-earned prestige meets instant gravity. Austin Butler represents an older Hollywood rhythm. His career wasn't meteoric. It was patient. Years of supporting television roles, incremental progress, long stretches without headlines. Then finally, the performance that validated everything. Elvis. That role didn't just elevate Butler, it repositioned him. Suddenly, he was no longer a working actor. He was a leading man. Awards conversations followed, serious scripts followed. The industry finally treated him as someone whose presence alone could carry a project. But just as Butler entered that tier, Jacob Elordi began orbiting the same space. Elordi didn't come through the same gate. He arrived from a different angle, less about transformation, more about inevitability. His presence felt pre-approved by culture, not negotiated with critics. Casting directors didn't ask whether he could lead, they assumed he would. That overlap created a subtle but unavoidable tension. Not personal, but positional. When 2 actors are competing for the same category of roles, prestige dramas, auteur projects, fashion-aligned masculinity, and one of them is perceived as the future while the other is still proving the present, imbalance forms. Butler earned his moment. Elordi shortened the lifespan of that moment. And in Hollywood, that compression stings. 2. Timothée Chalamet. The first time the crown felt heavy. For years, Timothée Chalamet occupied a singular position. He wasn't just successful, he was untouchable. Indie credibility, blockbuster relevance, critical respect, fashion world devotion. He was the default answer to the question, who is the face of the next generation? Then Jacob Elordi entered the same conversations, not as a clone, but as an alternative. Where Chalamet's image is fragile, poetic, and cerebral, Elordi's is grounded, imposing, and emotionally restrained. The contrast alone invited comparison. Social media amplified it. Headlines framed it. Fans debated it. Suddenly, Chalamet wasn't the only option anymore. That shift matters in an industry built on scarcity. When the spotlight widens, exclusivity narrows. Chalamet didn't lose status, but he lost singularity. And Hollywood doesn't warn you when that happens. One day, you're the inevitable choice. The next, you're one of several. That transition is rarely comfortable. 3. Barry Keoghan. When the shortcut feels personal. Barry Keoghan carved out his reputation through discomfort. His rise was built on roles that scared people, unsettled audiences, and rejected likability. He earned trust by choosing projects others avoided. Then Jacob Elordi began appearing in similar tonal territory. Dark characters, psychological intensity, disturbing narratives, prestige environments. But Elordi brought something Keoghan never relied on: mass market appeal. That difference matters more than people admit. Casting decisions aren't just about performance, they're about safety. And when an actor can deliver intensity and guarantee attention, they become difficult to compete with. Keoghan's credibility came from risk. Elordi's came from momentum. That contrast doesn't imply resentment, but it does generate frustration. Because it highlights an uncomfortable reality. Sometimes the industry values reach more than reputation. And when 2 actors circle the same roles but only one is considered commercially inevitable, displacement occurs, even if no one ever says it out loud. 4. Zendaya, the unequal cost of reinvention. Zendaya and Jacob Elordi are forever linked by Euphoria, but what happened after the show revealed something deeper about how Hollywood distributes freedom. Zendaya's transition into prestige came with scrutiny. Every role choice was dissected. Every performance was framed as a test. She had to prove she was more than her early image, repeatedly. Elordi didn't face that same interrogation. He was allowed to move on quickly, allowed to shed the teen drama label without explanation, allowed to be taken seriously almost immediately. That contrast sparked broader industry conversations, not about Elordi himself, but about who gets permission to evolve quietly and who must evolve publicly. Zendaya succeeded anyway, but the effort required to do so was disproportionate. And in Hollywood, when two people start at the same place but pay different prices to leave it, tension forms, even without conflict. 5. Noah Centineo. When the door closes without a sound. If Jacob Elordi's rise highlights anyone's stagnation, it's Noah Centineo. Both emerged from youth-driven projects, both were labeled heartthrobs, both were pushed heavily toward the same demographic, but the industry made a choice. Centineo became trapped by familiarity. His image solidified too early. Scripts stopped evolving. Offers narrowed. He wasn't rejected loudly. He was quietly sidelined. Elordi, by contrast, escaped the same category with remarkable ease. That difference wasn't about talent alone. It was about perception, about physical presence, about timing, about which version of masculinity the culture decided to elevate next. Centineo didn't fail. He was simply overtaken. And in Hollywood, being overtaken feels worse than being beaten. What Jacob Elordi's success really revealed. Jacob Elordi didn't become controversial because of behavior. He became controversial because of velocity. His career exposed how fragile Hollywood timelines really are, how little patience the system has, how quickly relevance replaces effort, how algorithms now influence prestige. Actors don't resent Elordi as a person, they resent the reality his rise represents, a system where momentum matters more than longevity, where image accelerates access, and where opportunity shrinks the moment someone else is chosen. That frustration has nowhere to go, so it turns into narrative, into speculation, into the idea that others must be furious. In truth, most are simply recalibrating, because in an industry where careers are built on timing, Jacob Elordi arrived early and took time away from everyone else. Jacob Elordi didn't create enemies. He revealed pressure points. He showed how success now moves faster than adaptation, how prestige no longer waits for permission, how Hollywood's future is being decided in real time, often without warning. For some actors, his rise felt like competition. For others, like displacement. And for many, like a reminder that no position is permanent. History will decide whether his dominance endures. But the impact is already clear. When one actor rises this quickly, the room changes, and everyone else feels it. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's shifting power dynamics, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments, do you think Jacob Elordi's rise represents the future of stardom or just a moment in time? Because in this industry, success doesn't just elevate one person, it reshapes the entire board.